Hello viewers and welcome to another edition of Health Options on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. I am Rabi Abdullah. Chronic kidney disease has become a public health problem with rising incidence and prevalence worldwide. End-stage renal disease accounts for 8% of all medical admissions and 42% of renal admissions in Nigeria, where health insurance, to meet the huge financial demands the disease places on its sufferers and their families, is inadequate. The ratio of nephrologists, that is, kidney experts, is 1 to a million patients, while out of the almost 20,000 new cases diagnosed each year, less than 2,000 have access to dialysis. On this edition of Health Options, we take a look at kidney disease burden in the country, with focus on prevention, management, and treatment. Our nature scanner will showcase medicinal plants available in our environment that are suitable for the care of the kidney if scientifically developed. It's all about care of the kidney, as you will also get informed about health tips on the preservation of this vital organ in the body if you invest your time with us. This is Health Options, and our focus this week is the burden of kidney disease in Nigeria. We have a discussion on that, but first, this background report put together by Chimdemma Indubisi.
Kidneys are two bean-shaped organs of the body, positioned just below the ribs and responsible for filtering blood to produce urine. Apart from removing wastes from the blood, kidneys control the body's fluid, keep levels of electrolytes stable while producing hormones that help regulate blood pressure, make red blood cells, and strong bones. Now, diseases or conditions can impair these functions, leading to chronic kidney disease on the long run or acute renal failure. A health condition observed to be on the increase. Study on the global disease burden of chronic kidney disease shows that 13% of the world's population suffer from all the 5 stages of the disease, with China and Latin America the highest contributors. Of great concern is the fact that about 2 million people die annually from this condition. In Nigeria, up to 34 million people are said to be living with chronic kidney disease. An additional concern is the high number of young adults being diagnosed with the condition. What then causes kidneys to fail?
Acute kidney injury can be caused by dehydration, the use of wrong medications without prescription, reduction in blood volume. Then for the acquired causes, hypertension, diabetes mellitus, HIV.
Apart from painkillers, people get high on substance addictive pain medications. Talking about the symptoms, generalized body swellings. They notice that their urine output is reduced. Repeated bouts of vomiting. Some children from lifestyle modification eat a lot of junk and oily food, have a tendency to be obese and can develop hypertension or diabetes.
Once chronic kidney disease advances to complete renal failure, the options for treatment become dialysis and kidney transplant. But these interventions are complex and costly. For instance, our patient requires 3 sessions of hemodialysis in a week, and each session costs 27,000 naira. However, only about 2,000 of 100,000 people diagnosed with this condition annually have access and can afford dialysis. Associated with this is the finding that it's just few health institutions in Nigeria that have the facility and expertise to offer such treatments.
Thank you, Chidemma. With me in the studio to discuss the burden of kidney disease in the country is Dr. Emmanuel Ante. Thanks for joining us on Health Options, Dr. Ante.
Thank you very much for having me.
For someone who sees these patients every day, how huge is it?
Listening to your background story, it's obvious that it's a great burden. And of course, if you look at the kidney diseases, the spectrum of kidney diseases, generally, the greatest or the greater burden of it is in the chronic kidney disease aspect. As you rightly said, it's not just a physical disease. We are dealing with various aspects of this condition, most especially the economic, social implications of it. But what we are seeing, as the statistics you were just told us about the chronic kidney disease, just the tip of the iceberg. That is those who are able to make it to the hospitals and able to have a diagnosis. Out of that tip of the iceberg, majority of the people don't get to make it. And if you look at the various stages of chronic kidney diseases, you see that majority of the people even die before they reach the stage to have dialysis, or the stage to have them diagnosed as a case of end-stage renal disease. And so you will see that the greater burden is even at the lower stages of the kidney disease, which is out there in the community. So the ideal thing is identify the various factors.
Yes, I was coming to that.
Okay.
What are those common risk factors?
Yeah, they vary. When we talk of, we are not talking about chronic kidney disease now. Actually, when you say a kidney has failed, you are either having an acute kidney injury, which has led to failure, or you are talking of a chronic kidney disease, which has led to failure.
What are those diseases? Can you just let us
Okay.
know some of them?
Now, to simplify things so that people can understand properly, is to look at where the kidney is first. Where the kidney is in the abdomen, what we call abdomen. In local parlance, they call it tummy.
Yes.
And they are B-shaped towards the back. And not very big, but one thing about the kidney is that it receives a very rich blood supply. And that goes to tell you about how important that organ is to the body. It actually filters all the metabolism that the cells in the body that take place in the body, and also regulates regulate water, body water, and also salts. And so impurities and poisons and any other thing you have eaten is the kidneys that clears it and filters it. And so anything that injures the kidney or affects the kidney, and this function cannot take place anymore. So you can now imagine what will happen. You know, the impurities will remain in your body. The salt regulation is not going to take place. Water regulation is not going to take place. And of course, this also eventually going to affect so many organs as well, apart from the kidney. Primarily, it's going to affect your heart, affect your brain, affect your muscles, affect the stomach, and all other tissues of the body. So if you look, the major ones are anything that will lead to blood loss or reducing blood volume. And that, of course, will impair blood supply to the kidney. Okay. Losing blood, either from bleeding or in big surgeries where blood is not being replaced adequately, road traffic accidents, childbirth, child delivery where people lose a lot of blood, or from severe vomiting and diarrhea where we become so dehydrated and fluid replacement has not taken place quickly. All this can lead to the kidney function being deteriorated. And of course, eventually, if it prolongs, of course, it can lead to kidney failure. Then there's another one again, that infection specifically that can affect the kidneys can also lead to failure. And these are various versions, from viral infection to bacteria to fungal infections. They can all affect the kidneys. And there are a lot of examples here. Okay? And then, of course, you can also have drugs. And the drugs can vary both from the drug you prescribe, the one you go to buy over the counter, and also herbal medications and herbal concoctions. Okay. All those can affect the kidney.
So where does kidney stone come in here? So much talk about kidney stones.
Yeah. The kidney stones, usually, when you say somebody is passing a stone, is in most cases when there are certain food we eat, and the food is being handled by the kidney, especially where it contains some calcium and like phosphate and oxalate, also uric acid. Is the kidney that tries to regulate this. But for certain reasons, some people are just predisposed to forming stones. Then these elements now crystallize inside the urine, and they form stones, and they go to block the urinary tract.
What's the implication of that?
Yeah, if it blocks the two, it can lead to kidney failure. But otherwise, in most cases, it presents mainly as severe pain, and sometimes they bleed when they see blood in their urine. And majority of the people pass the stone, but where the stone get blocked, then it has to be removed surgically or otherwise. In most cases, if it's not taken out and it's still blocked, it continues to have pain.
Okay, but can it lead to chronic kidney disease or,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or renal failure?
Yeah, it can lead to it in the sense that, one, if it blocks the two kidneys, then the urine can't flow. Two, it can also initiate infections that can, continue to affect the kidney and destroy the kidney.
Okay, let's look at the treatment options now. We have very few dialysis centers, very few patients have access to treatment. And even when they do, it's quite expensive. And I know that NHIS covers 2 sessions of dialysis for those covered by health insurance. Is that adequate?
No, it's not enough, because if you are talking of somebody who is in chronic kidney disease stage and needs dialysis or is dependent on dialysis, the person ideally needs about 3 times a week dialysis. Okay. And of course, 2 sessions is not enough at all. It's not even up to the 3 times a week.
What is the cost?
The cost varies, but let me come about the cost. Dialysis generally is not cheap anywhere in the world. Okay, we have to get that very clear. 2, especially hemodialysis is not cheap at all. And the cost depends from country to country. In Nigeria, is a bit expensive because most of the things you need for dialysis are imported. And so, of course, if you are importing it, of course, it's going to be more costly. Now, averagely, it costs anything between 20 to 30,000, depending on the center per session. Okay. And it depends whether it's public or private, and whether the center is subsidizing for patients or not. But if you look at the actual cost, if they work out the actual cost, I don't think it's going to be anything less than 20,000 per session.
So where do we go from here? The fact that it's on the rise and people simply can't afford treatment.
Yeah.
People are dying.
Yeah, that is the truth. And because it's costly, if you can't afford it, even the facilities for dialysis and the access to dialysis is not even there, because most of the dialysis centers are in urban centers. And so people in rural areas may not have an access. And so our best option is prevention, education.
Another issue is human resource deficit. 1 nephrologist to 1 million patients. How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, well, it takes time, and it takes enormous resources to train a nephrologist. And also the opportunities for training are also not very many. And in fact, we have come a long way. Some decades ago, you can count we can count with your fingers how many nephrologists we have. But there have been a concerted effort to train a lot, and we have come a long way to train. In fact, the ratio you have now is because of the number of people we were able to train, especially in this country, and they are trying a lot. In fact, Nigeria is faring better than most sub-Saharan African countries in terms of ratio. There are some countries that don't have more than 2 nephrologists, catering for the whole country. So Nigeria, in that aspect, is trying, even though we have not reached there. Ideally speaking, we should be able to have people that will cover both urban and rural areas. It's how to spread these services to as many people as possible, so that people can have access to nephrologists or nephrology care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ante, for coming on Health Options.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Moving on now, it has been discovered that local herbs are a major cause of kidney disease in the country as a result of issues such as standardization. However, Nigeria is blessed with different species of medicinal plants that can be harnessed and scientifically developed for kidney care. Check out those plants on our Nature Scanner.
There are many of them, but I'll just mention 3 of them for now. The first one we have is the Solanum nigrum. That's the botanical name, and the English name is called black nightshade. There's another version of it that is Solanum florinum, also known as the white nightshade. And then we have one that is called Scleria beria, and that is called, in Hausa, is called Diana, something like that. Now, unfortunately, not all of them are indigenous to Nigeria. The Scleria, which is this one, the stem bark is what is used in treating kidney disease, but we do not have the stem bark available right now because it's not even indigenous to Nigeria. And so this is the grounded stem bark, the bark of the tree. The stem is being grounded and put here. Now for Solanum nigrum, which is called the black night, the leaves are usually boiled and ingested to treat kidney disease, and that's what you have. This and this one, the Solanum florinum, the leaves also are boiled, but they are not in season right now. That's why we do not have the fresh ones available. So we have these 3 herbs that can be used to cure. As much as they are called traditional or herbal medicines that we find around, you are not advised to just go pick any or these particular ones when you know the name and begin to ingest them. You know that the herbal plants have a lot of constituents, and as it is, sometimes for most of them we don't even know which part of these constituents in this leaf, for example, is responsible for curing the kidney. So when you go and you pick and you drink indiscriminately, you're actually going to even kill the kidney the more. So it is not advisable that you just go obtain the plant or the parts of the plant and begin to drink. I think everybody has access to it, but it's the proper access that we are talking about now. For instance, in where I work, we try to take these herbs and make them into suitable forms. Not just go soak the herb and drink like agbo, so to say, but make them into suitable forms like your tablets, your capsules, and your syrups, and we give them a dose. Not just drink one whole bottle, but we tell you if it's a capsule, take 1 capsule. If it's a tablet, maybe take 1 tablet. So the government, through such institutions like NIPRID, where I work, is trying to make sure that they standardize these herbals so they don't begin to cause negative issues for those that are taking them. Traditional medicine has been with us for a long time. It's not something that is new. And I'm sure that most people, most older people, have been involved in taking this traditional medicine. You took them in form of agbo when you were small and all that. But right now, the issue is we're trying to get them to a point where it is internationally accepted. Not just drink from a bucket or drink from a bottle, but we're trying to get them to a standardized level where scientifically you know the amount that you're taking and what exactly it's going to do when you ingest it.
Welcome back from Nature Scanner. Experts recommend adequate consumption of water to enable the kidney effectively perform its function of cleansing the blood, control chemicals, fluid and blood pressure, to mention just a few. We have more health tips on care of the kidney.
Hypertension and diabetes are the 2 common causes of kidney disease, and so everyone needs to be aware. People who have hypertension should get to the hospital, check their blood pressure regularly, make sure their blood pressure is well controlled on medications. Those who are diabetic should also check their blood sugar regularly, routinely, and make sure that they are getting their blood sugar medications so that their blood sugar is well controlled. Nigerians will need to form a good health-seeking behavior, walk into a hospital on a routine basis, and also do just a basic urine test. Will give you a lot of information about your kidney health. And so for women, whether they're pregnant or not, I mean, we should do this regularly, checking doing a basic urine test to check and see whether such a person has chronic kidney disease. Chronic kidney disease, initially you may have nothing. It may be asymptomatic. You may not have any symptom. That's why we think that it's necessary to always check. But with time, some of them will come into the hospital with swollen legs. That's leg swelling. We have facial swelling. We talk about, when I wake up in the morning, my face looks puffy, you know. Some will come and tell you about, I feel so tired easily, which we call easy fatigability. Some will come and complain of, I just have body itching, you know. And then by the time you're checking their blood pressure, it's quite elevated. Then some will tell you I'm vomiting and hiccuping. I just feel tired. I feel unwell. I have headaches. Then you need to get to the hospital. And now going to other things that we need to be aware of. Obesity is a risk factor. We need to watch our weight. Eat healthy. Also, we look at the use of medications. Herbal medications. We need to avoid ingestion of herbal medications. We need to avoid ingestion of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, the ones we know as painkillers. People need to, whenever there is pain, they need to get into a hospital and get a proper prescription from doctors, such that they give you the ones that are kidney friendly, not necessarily just prescribing for yourself. So self-medication is the issue here. If there's any reason to want to take painkillers, we should go to the hospital to get them. Then we need to avoid use of bleaching creams. So we all know that I think we have more females that bleach than males. And so it's important to note that quite a number of bleaching creams will have mercury. Those bleaching creams and soap that contain mercury can be hazardous to our kidneys, so we need to avoid such. We should also look at the use of illicit drugs, cocaine, heroin. We have a lot of young people that are indulging in the use of these things. And then also we look at smoking. You know, the present day we have quite a number of people, women even smoking. We need to stop smoking. And then of course we need to take in enough adequate water on a daily basis. Not just drinks. A lot of us take drinks. We need to take water on a daily basis to make sure that we flush our kidneys. And then of course you remember that some people live in very extremely hot areas of the country. Some of them we call stone forming belts, where kidney stones can form. And so in these areas you need to take in a lot of water. We all need to cultivate that culture of exercising.
Prevention, they say, is better than cure. Chronic kidney disease, where patients experience a gradual deterioration of kidney function, the end result of which is kidney failure. It is alarmingly on the increase in the country. Some have described the national incidence of kidney failure of about 67% in Nigeria as a medical emergency, which underscores the need for the establishment of affordable treatment centers. More enlightenment on the risk factors and preventive measures. Keep a date with us same time next week for another edition of Health Options. Avoid habits that could destroy your kidney and other vital organs in the body. My name is Rabi Abdullah. Thanks for watching.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
I never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
Somebody called me that there is a form that people are filling. I should go and fill.
Then I went there, she gave me one, I filled the form.
We are 3 in number, they working together. We got form from federal government.
After 2 weeks, I received a lot of 30,000 naira from federal government.
I used the 30,000 naira to buy so many things like equipment.
The money really helped me. The next week I went to market. I increased my business.
I thank my president who got touched to give us this such amount. I say may God bless him.
I really thank the government, the federal government, more especially President Muhammad Buhari, because he's the one that signed the money. I am very, very grateful for them.
I am Elizabeth Abai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there, especially on the social media. All it takes is just a click and the fake news goes viral. However, here in NTA, we deal with facts.
My job is to go out there and comb for factual news and information, just the way it is, all in the interest of the nation. I'm Naja'atu Tijani.
Here on the NTA, we present only the facts, verified. Beware of fake news, don't be a victim. Stay tuned to the NTA.
Especially at this time of the coronavirus pandemic.
My name is Nnamdi Ojiko.
I never get this kind of
And we're back with a news update at 11. Federal Executive Council on Wednesday approved some memoranda aimed at improving the Nigerian Customs Service and says the Finance Minister says the nation's economy is not in any trouble concerning its rising debt profile, which is still within the sustainable level.
Council approved the procurement of 427 operational vehicles for the Nigerian Customs Service operations in favor of various contractors in the combined sum of 14.55 billion naira, inclusive of 7.5% VAT, with a delivery period of 4 weeks. And there are several contractors.
In periods of uncertainties, especially pandemics like we are at the moment, food shortage becomes manifest. To ensure that Nigeria does not suffer from such challenge, the Senate has passed a bill that seeks to establish the National Food Reserve Agency.
All other provisions of the Constitution, there is no power that enables this National Assembly to make law in respect to Food Reserve Agency.
It is a system designed to ensure that at all times, a country is able to guarantee that food will be supplied and available to its members.
And in health, 89 new COVID-19 infections have been recorded nationwide within the last 24 hours, bringing the country's total confirmed cases to 164,000. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control says among the new cases, Lagos has 19, FCT 15, Adamawa 12, Akwa Ibom 10, Cross River 9, Rivers and Ogun 6 respectively. Kano has 5, Kaduna 4 and Osun 3. There are now 7,625 active cases nationwide, with 154,225 cases being discharged, while the death toll is currently at 2,061. That's the news update at 11. Good morning.
This is the network service of the NTA.
For any cake or confectionery product to be acceptable by consumer, quality is key. A lot of bakers in Nigeria enjoy loyalty and recommendations from clients just because they are known for tasty and fluffy cakes. If you really desire greater height in your cake making business, pay proper attention to quality. This is Baker's World on NTA, your one-stop Baker's show on television. My name is Funke Oyele. Thanks for joining us on the program. We have a rich lineup for you today on Baker's World. We will be showing you how to make a yummy and refreshing cake with a bold flavor. Our guest baker is a retired superintendent of customs who started baking as a hobby. We will let you into our world in our interview session. On Baker's Gist, we have a motivational talk by a life coach and some business management tips. You just relax and enjoy all we have for you on the show. Coconut is a fruit that has gradually become a versatile confectionery commodity. Many people love it either for its nutritional benefit or its flavor. On today's episode of Baker's World, our baker Lydia and our assistant will show us how to make a fluffy and delicious coconut cake. So don't go anywhere.
We are going to first of all wash our hands.
So now we'll put our butter in the mixer. So now our butter has been well creamed. Let's see how it looks. Here is the color now. Remember, it was very yellow before. Now it's pale, it's fluffy, and it's soft. The next thing now is we want to add our lemon zest. So we let the mixer run for a few minutes. Now we want to add the eggs. So we'll let our mixer run. So now we want to alternate our yogurt and our flour. At this point, we are going to reduce the speed. Now I'm adding a bit of the yogurt. And then we'll mix again. So we are alternating our flour and the yogurt. So I'm adding the last bit of the yogurt now. And then our remaining flour. We are ready to add our coconut flakes. But to do that, we won't be using the mixer. This is the coconut flakes. And I'm adding it now. Why we use hand to do this is that when you add the coconut flakes with the paddle, it tends to clog the paddle so that it doesn't spread evenly in the batter. Here is our batter. Now we have to spread it out.
While we wait for our batter to be baked, we'll take this quick break after we'll be having a conversation with our guest baker. See you after this time out.
I'm actually a passionate baker. I don't rest until everything is done.
When I entered university, anytime I'm broke, I'll make cupcakes and go and sell to the other students.
Decorating cake it's an artistic thing, and art is, dynamic.
Join us on Baker's World every Thursday on the network service of the NTA. Baker's World, celebrating creativity. Don't miss it.
Baking has procedure that you must follow if you want to have good results. And the number one procedure is measurement.
We have with us today a retired customs officer and talented baker. Born on the 28th of July, 1957, to the Ilebode family in Otuo, Owan local government in Edo State. Lydia Omo Atane had her early education at St. Stephen's Primary School, Otuo, and proceeded to Anglican Girls Grammar School, now Federal Government College, Ibilo, Edo State. She joined the Nigerian Customs Service in 1975. In order to further her education, Lydia got a study leave in 1980 and had her tertiary education at Abraka College of Education, now Delta State University, where she obtained a national certificate in education education in English language. Lydia also attended Faith Theology Seminary Ota in Ogun State and bagged a degree in theology in 1996. Lydia Atane's journey into the cake world started by chance through a baker friend. She later discovered her interest in cake making and started to bake leisurely for her children's birthdays and family friends at no cost. Lydia did this for several years because she enjoyed cake making and was just satisfied with the thrills of surprised reactions her cakes gave to people. This amazing baker's interest in cake making continued to increase till it became a passion. At this point, she realized her need for greater creativity in baking and decorations. Not minding her age, she grabbed every opportunity to acquire professional trainings from renowned bakers across the country. After her retirement in 2010, Lydia eventually turned her passion into a full-time cake business. Her brand, Lydia Cake Bakery, has produced confectionery products for many celebrations and cake exhibitions in Abuja. Lydia is happily married to engineer Stephen Atani and blessed with 4 children. Join us as we chat with this determined, result-oriented, and purposeful baker, Lydia Omo Atani.
You're welcome to Baker's World.
Thank you.
How have you been able to achieve creativity with all your years of experience?
Achieving creativity, one, you have to train. So I had a level of training, and then because of the interest in this baking, because of the passion I had for it, I just discovered that anything I saw, the first thing that would come to my mind would be how I could incorporate it in decorating a cake. And that was how, and then sometimes inspiration. I just come from within. I just, okay, I do this. Like, there are times I'm decorating a cake and something out of what was originally planned. You just come in and I just, and it turns out beautiful.
With all your years of experience, I know you must have so many stories, but what I want to hear about is your first rookie mistake. Tell me about that.
The very first that I can't forget. A sister was to celebrate her son's first birthday, and all the women in the church gathered in my house to bake. We were very busy. We baked this cake. This sister who taught me how to bake did the decoration. All of us were there. I remember that day we baked far into the night, and we had to be escorting all the women to their homes. And it was raining. That was a Saturday night, and Sunday after service, we all gathered in the house of the sister whose son was marking his birthday. The children gathered, and after eating, dancing, and all of that, we were trying to cut cake. And by the time they put a knife to the cake was like too. It was not well cooked, and nobody could eat. Nobody could taste.
Wow,
the cake.
I know a lot of kids were expecting, this cake, and they were already waiting. So, what did you learn from that?
The lesson that I learned is that baking is not like one pot soup that you can just pack everything, pepper, tomatoes, meat, everything, dump them inside a pot and you have soup ready. No. Baking has procedure that you must follow if you want to have good results.
And let's talk about cake making in all those days when you used to bake. What was it like then, from the creativity, from the tools that were available then, from the recipe and designs and decoration that were available then, compared to what it is now?
Then it was just realizing. And all we did then was you just pipe swirls on your cake and all of that. Even sugar craft was not the in thing then. People would just buy artificial flowers. And even decorating cake with flour then was not, as it is today. So there has been so much improvement as against that. Then it was just realizing. And then tools. Then even now you have what you call piping bags. Then it was this tube that you are pressing your fingers almost, by the time you are done with one cake, you know that your fingers will need some help. But now you have just piping bag that is so easy, to manipulate. Several tools now, to even help your cakes come out very beautiful. And you have designs, varieties of designs now. Then it was not like it is today. You can see the versatility of decors on cakes. Apart from the fact that people go for trainings and all, internet has actually helped, such that whatever is trendy anywhere in the world, you can reach it, you can access it, and because of YouTube, you can even train yourself.
Let's talk about the cake you're making for us today, a coconut cake. Tell me, mixing coconut and cake together, what's so special about it?
Really, coconut cake. You would imagine, what is bringing them together. But now that everybody is thinking healthy. Everybody wants to eat healthy. When you hear coconut cake, you start thinking, okay, that should be something special because of the coconut that is there and other ingredients that come with it because it is a coconut cake, like the lemon zest that go in there, like the yogurt that go in there. So it's a healthier version.
Thank you very, very much. I'm delighted to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was our conversation with the CEO of Lydia Cakes, Lydia Atani. Now, before we come back to decorate our cake, here is Baker's Gist for you, where we have a motivational talk and business management tips for you. Enjoy it.
I would like to share with you also marketing today about the law of saturation. You need to saturate the market. It doesn't matter if you are baking for a few or for much. But I want to encourage especially the ones among us who are big-time bakers. A good being sold can become popular if the person who makes it know how to saturate the market. So it doesn't need it. You don't need a brain of a rocket scientist. Or neither do you need the skill of a ground speech driver to understand the business secret of selling. You can send your goods on errand. You can recall it and you can saturate it until it becomes popular by your own effort, because heaven helps those who help themselves. So that's the law of marketing when it comes to saturation. Saturation is a powerful key for big players in any business, because you must have the money in your hand to sell it on credit, to mop it up, to sell it again and mop it up before people begin to go and borrow money to buy from you, because they know you have made your product popular by your own effort.
We all desire this present year to be better than last year. We always imagine how our lives would be if we had more money, less bills, and more success in our daily endeavors. As a baker, instead of just dreaming, figure out what you intend to do differently this year to make your cake-making business better, and what practical steps you want to take in order to achieve your dreams. If you're that baker that aspires to move her bakery business to the next level this year, here are some business management tips for you. Start planning. Now is the time to sit down and plan your goals for your business, as well as how you intend to achieve the goals. Have an action plan that will aid you in achieving your goals. Don't wait by the phone for customers. Come up with a strategy for getting customers. Cake photography. Take a good photo or video of your cakes. Taking a beautiful and high quality photos and videos of your cakes should be as important as making a good quality cake. More clients will stay on your social media page if your cake are visually appealing. Specialize your selection. Be known for specific type of cakes and decorations. Being a maker of all cakes will overwhelm you, especially if you don't have much help and you are not skilled in all cake techniques. Make cakes you enjoy and it will show in your works. It's smarter and less labor intensive to maximize on your strength, rather than spending a lot of time doing amateurish work on what you don't enjoy. You can be the fondant cake queen or be a wedding cake master. Be on social media. As a cake business owner, you should be on any or all social media platforms. This will aid you in having a wider reach of potential customers. If you intend to grow your business, this is a must for you. Sort your finances. If you want to have a sustainable cake business, you need to be on top of your finances. Establish a record-keeping process, a separate bank account for your business, develop a chat account for your cake business. Keep a record of all your business income and expenses. Keep these tips in mind and you will have a successful year for your business.
So now we want to start our decorations. We want to decorate our cake. So please can I have the cake? We are going to layer our cakes. So this is the first one. We want to apply our buttercream to our cake now. Apply buttercream again on this layer. Here is the last layer of our cake. So before we continue with the decoration, we need to trim our cakes so that we have equal sides of our cake. Now our cake has been trimmed. I'm going to cover it with buttercream. The essence of this first coating is to seal in the crumbs. So we are done with covering our cake with buttercream. Now we want to roll out our fondant and cover the cake. So it's time to trim. We are going to apply our stencil on the cake. This is the stencil we are going to use, and this is the realizer. We want to do our stencil now on the last side of this cake. So the last thing we are going to do now is put our topper on top of our cake. This is to add beauty to our cake. Now we have our topper on our cake. What do you think?
really, really a good job. Well done. Thank you. Well, we're not going to cut this cake because it's so beautiful. I don't even know where I'm going to start cutting it from. If you want to make a cake like this, all you need to do is follow all the procedures and steps displayed by our bakers. Till next week when we come your way, you can follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's Baker's World on NTA. And our Gmail account is Baker's World on NTA. Till next week, I am Funke Oyele. Bye for now.
I never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
There was this broadcast on Villa Updates, which I'm part of, and I got the information there that we should apply for survivor fund.
I thought it was a scam, but truly it wasn't a scam.
To my great surprise, we actually got a lot of 30,000. I have 5 staff, including the making 6. We got a lot of 30,000, like 3 weeks later. This is the first time I'm getting anything from this government. Even from past governments, I have never gotten anything from them.
It was a great relief for us because during the COVID-19, things were so tough.
I really thank the government for this great gesture because it has helped a lot.
This is the network service of the NTA.
We are not going to take time. We asked CGC several questions in our first outing, and they was able to answer nearly all the questions, except the last aspect, which I believe is not too relevant. Though if you give the answer to them, we will appreciate it. But for us not to waste much time, we have met severally after that period of 4th March, and we reviewed the proposal for 2021 budget that custom brought to us. We compare notes with what was presented last fiscal year, which was 2020, and what was collected by the service. There was a proposal of 1.4 trillion. When we look at it and the kind of noise it's going to generate when we get to the floor of the House, once we pass this budget from the committee level, the next stage is to go to the floor to go and argue and get it passed. And we don't want to have problem at the floor. When we look at what you collected in 2020, it was 5.62 trillion naira. So it will look somehow illogical for us. That is when you add the VAT. When you add the VAT to it, the total collection, you have 1.211 trillion, then, and you have 350 billion. So the total came to 1.562 trillion. Am I right? And we look at it, initially, before COVID came, the sum of 1.679 trillion was given to the service to generate. And despite the COVID, you were able to generate 2.211 trillion and collected 350 billion VAT. So that is to tell you that now that COVID is subdued as a result of vaccine and there is no lockdown, the border is opened. And when I check with the chairman finance and the finance committee, your proposal for carbonated drinks to be excisable is now approved. So when we look at all this, we see that we cannot go to the floor with this proposal. And this is our conclusion. We want to stand on the initial target given to you last year. We are not going to increase it. We want to stay on it at 1.679 trillion. We are not going to touch what you proposed or the target you gave to yourself on the issue of tax and VAT. In the other proposal, you proposed 370 billion that you are expected to generate from VAT. That is value added tax. That one, we leave it at that. We hope and pray that you will be able to meet this target that you set for yourself. That is 370 billion. If and only if it works out that way. I'm sure, I don't have doubt in my mind, looking at all these parameters that I've mentioned. Let me add one more. Also, the Finance Act reduced the levy of new vehicles from 35% to 5%. This is to tell you that you are going to get more vehicles to come through our port this year, which I believe is already happening. By the time you add all this together, it is possible that you even surpass this 1.679 trillion and get to 2 trillion. This is just my own belief and the belief of the committee. We don't want to bore the CGC too much today. Whatever technical aspect that remains to be concluded, we want your technical team, especially on this issue of figures, to only the technical team to meet with us tomorrow 11 a.m. and then we iron it out, and that is the end. Once we hear from you now, whatever you want to comment you have, we will release you to go. I want to ask, part of what we saw in the proposal, there is 91.1 billion retained earnings. And out of this amount, we understood there are certain amounts that are meant for recruitment. We want to know exact amount that is meant for recruitment in this 91.1 billion. And still on recruitment, if we go ahead and approve the proposal of 9.6 billion for another recruitment, how many officers this amount will capture? And finally, before I give floor to my colleagues, if they have one or two comments to make, you gave us a very good news last time you visited us here, that Central Bank of Nigeria has procured 4 scanners, or will procure 4 scanners for Nigeria Customs Service. I would like to work with you, also with Minister of Finance, also with the CBN governor, because this thing is something that we cannot delay. If it's not done, it is something that has to be done very, very urgently. If it is something that we need to capture in this appropriation, what do you call it? The supplementary budget that is coming. If it is something that I have to quickly discuss with Mr. Speaker so that they will capture it in that supplementary budget that is going to come anytime soon, maybe immediately we resume, so that we can look for a way to have these scanners back to work at the ports and at the border stations. And before then, when we went round, we discovered, and from what we had, those scanners that are on ground, especially the one in Lagos, we heard that if it's repaired, it can still work for the next 30 years. And if it is given to the right technical partner, even though if we have new one, I don't advise that we throw away our Commonwealth. If there's a need for us to put it in place, we should also work on it to make sure they work. So this is my comment, and I will want my colleagues to say one or two things before the CGC will now talk, respond to those.
I'm still Mukhtar Ahmed from Kaduna South Federal Constituency. I just want to comment on 2 issues because I know before this meeting and after our last sitting, a lot of things have been discussed so that we will iron things out. I'm going to discuss on 2 issues, CG. Number 1, in the last sitting, remember the committee made a suggestion to you that at least we should consider members of this committee when you are organizing your trainings. And going through the CIS Act, we've seen that there's provision for training of stakeholders in the trade chain. And members of this committee are major stakeholders in this chain, and we would suggest you work out with the chairman of the technical committee of Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme so that this will be considered in subsequent training so that we'll have our members trained. It will reduce a lot of things, and including this budget process that we go through. Then secondly, CG and members of the team, especially those that are saddled with the responsibility of finance and budgeting, I would suggest that before the next budget, if you create an avenue that you will be sitting with the technical committee of this committee so that we'll iron things out, in terms of budgeting and, appropriations, so that when we are coming for this, we will not take this long period of time for us to be engaging on something that is supposed to be seamless, because there's no difference between what we're doing is for Nigeria. You are on the executive side and this is the legislative side. So if we have initial engagement within there before the next budget, we would understand where you are heading, so that when we are coming for this budget processing, we'll be on the same page. These are the two advices I will give to the CGC, and I wish you good luck. Thank you.
I just want to raise just two major issues. The first one is the issue of insurance. And I know that the CG has explained that the approval is waiting for the approval of the 2020 group life insurance from FEC. However, it's becoming belated. An insurance for a period of a year is to cover people for that year. So if insurance are not carried out for that year, then what is the importance? There's no way you can stop natural things to happen. We need to provide cover for our men on the field. So the issue of insurance is very, very important. Because when I saw it on the line last year that no cover was spent on insurance last year, and I inquired further, I learned that the approval has not been given from FEC. And that one will bring me to the next point, which is the issue of retained earnings. The retained earnings for last year was 91 billion. And when I scrutinized, I realized I heard that many of your proposals are with procurement office, and it's causing a lot of delay. If we don't work very well, if we are here again by this time next year, your retained earning, God forbid, might be going to about 200 billion. So we need to look at it, that what is wrong? Why should we have proposals of close to 91 billion naira with procurement office unattended to? And I look at it as more or less lack of relationship. Relationship is not about money, about anything. It's about interface. Some little things might be delaying those things in procurement office. There's a need for the CGC or the management to have interaction with the procurement office so that your proposals will not be delayed. To have a figure of 91 billion naira you are carrying over and you call it retained earning, it's not more retained earning. Retained earning comes in an accounting form. Here today, it's just a borrowed language of what was not expended. So I want to urge the CGC and the management to try and look at this. Increase your relationship management with all these various organizations, and immediately this project is approved, whatever needed to be taken to FEC should be done as quickly as possible. No, we are discussing on how we will be able to get customs budget not going to FEC again after approval, because it's more or less unnecessary. So we're working on that, because it's calling delay many of the things we are doing. So we are talking at this end. There's a need for us to collaborate with you, so that many of these processes after approval from this place, there's no need for you to send another approval, because approval from here is a legal document. Then when the project is signed here, it's a legal document. Then the other necessary thing that we've known by the procurement, yes, it's okay, but you can ease that by a good relationship, which I want to urge you to do. Thank you.
We have many routes where the smugglers brought in many vehicles from the Republic of Benin. And what we find out is that they are paying some customs through some routes that is not known to the public. If this thing can be cancelled, that you can bring in the vehicles through the main border, that there won't be problem with the custom. If they can remove that law, that will increase the money made by the custom every year, because the vehicles are still coming in through Republic of Benin, and they are passing every day. So saying that it is illegal to bring in vehicles from the Republic of Benin is another venue of making money for the customs, not Nigeria. So we should look into that law. I'm advising them to look into that law so that the money could come into the main pocket of the custom and via Nigeria, not individual.
In terms of infrastructural development as regard to the custom services, in that regard, we need to know as a committee, based on the facts available to us, why for almost 3 years the same amount of money are being allocated for the construction of houses in the custom service. And another bothering problem which you are trying to shy away from it, Mr. Chairman, and as Nigerians who are determined to see the end of this arms infiltration in the country, we have to talk on this very important issue, because for posterity and for the yet unborn generations that are having stake in Nigeria, and we as lawmakers who are responsible with the sincere commitment to ensure peace and security of this country, the total collapse of security is being the responsibility of those that are manning the borders of this country, which is the customs services. And for me, as a matter of fact, because all these infiltrations of arms and ammunition are coming through the border, or they are coming from the airport. And as a matter of fact, people are dying. Nigeria is bleeding. Even yesterday, I swear to my Holy Quran, they killed some of my constituents. And this is a daily affair. And as a matter of fact, it's a total failure to the responsibility saddled to this institution that is handling this serious and very important government agency. Therefore, as a committee, Mr. Chairman, we have to have a forensic and a holistic approach to this very important issue. If we fail to do that, because we have only 2 years, we are voted for, we have the mandate of the people, and we are in democracy. And for democracy to survive, I think, Mr. Chairman, there is need to set up an ad hoc committee to look into this very serious problem. If the failure is from the hierarchy of the government, then we, from the CG, then we can put a vote of no confidence on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The finance minister, the CBN governor, on the issue of scanners. And the scanner is the responsibility of the federal government to provide. They cannot do it.
Mr. Chairman, don't be on the side of these people.
Excuse me, Chairman, Honorable. I'm saying it as it is. The other day, Honorable Godley raised the same thing, and I told him it is the responsibility of Finance Ministry to provide scanners for custom. And you can go and check the act. You check the act, you check the Constitution, it's written there. So what we need to face, that's why you heard me, I said, Finance Minister, the CGC, and the CBN governor, we have to sit the three of them together. Now that the CBN promised that it's going to provide, they should do it immediately. If they provide it, and we're still having these challenges through the port, and then we know there's a problem somewhere. So let us do our own part, then they should do their own part. We need to work on these people first, and that is why we can solve the problem. Then secondly, this issue of border, I agree, we need more men Do we have inadequate men in custom, even in the port? They are not there. The officers that are supposed to do the real work are not there. That's why we need to hammer on the recruitment. We need more men into the service, coupled with the technology that they need to be able to operate with. So this is it. I'm not siding them, neither am I condemning you. But we need to also call the executive to order to do the needful. What are they keeping the money for? How much will it cost them? The scanner cannot cost more than 20 billion naira. So why don't you give them to protect ourselves? This is the problem we need to solve, and I'm already working on it. I've already informed the speaker, I informed the chairman of finance. We need to sit them together to make sure this is done, and it's done faster. There's no need to delay. The more we delay, the more we lose as people. So this is it about it. And I'm going to work on it, I promise you. In fact, already, now, we have a referral from the House. I moved the motion. As the chairman of the technical committee then, I moved the motion. There's a referral to us already from the House to investigate this one. The file is what, immediately after this budget, we are going to ask for memoranda from the general public. We use all electronic media, all print media, for people to send in their memoranda. So there's already a motion on it, which is referred to the committee.
Mr. Chairman, and you have to do it as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Because rain is coming. As a chairman of the Committee on Agri Production, the problem of this banditry and the armed infiltration is like a wildfire. And most of the...
We are starting it during this holiday.
Are not assessed. Most of our farms are not
accessible. Okay. Now, Honorable, I know the passion. I know how the thing affected you. That's why you are talking this way. During that time, you ask people to be doing the farm for you. Because you have information to give to us, you are going to be part of the team that's going to do the work. Okay? Thank you. The security issue is beyond any one of us here. Let us hear from the CGC their own part that they are going to take. When we hear from him, we should also listen and listen attentively. Any other idea, nobody has a monopoly of knowledge. Their own may not suit your own. If you have any other idea that is better or superior to their own, please feel free to contribute. This is my ruling. The CGC.
I am going to respond to this one after the other. I would first take the chairman's comments on the issue of the budget of 2021 and the need to increase it from the 1.4 trillion to 1.679 trillion. Let me grab the indulgence of the chairman here to say the target set by the federal government every year is based on some parameters. It's not based on an ad hoc computation. First and foremost, the MTEF, which is the budget committee, sits down and look at and do a complete analysis, and then do a projection. And with our own officers, we also sit down and look at what is feasible that can be generated. And Mr. Chairman, I make haste to say this last year, 2020, we are lucky. Despite the COVID-19, we were able to garner this. But as at then, the African Free Trade Agreement did not come into place. African Free Trade Agreement has now taken effect from the 1st of January 2021. And that agreement is geared towards zero duty for all imports coming from member countries within Africa. Imports coming from countries within Africa is a significant percentage in the collection of duty we do. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, if you recall when Ngozi Owela was here, she made mention of the WTO agreement. That also has come into effect, and we are signatory to that treaty. What is also gearing to us is zero duty to the import of member countries. So if we take this into consideration, Mr. Chairman, and I also want to say here that the COVID that we are praying assiduously that COVID subsides. The vaccine is getting on and very well, although many Nigerians are shying away from it, from what I gathered. But hopefully, very soon it will pick up and most of us will be vaccinated and protected against this pandemic. But we must also make sure you understand that a lot of industries outside Nigeria have suffered tremendous injuries with regards to the COVID. So picking up and really producing and of course for our own people to be able to buy these things will take a longer time. So putting all this together, Mr. Chairman, and then when we look at the target, we would crave the indulgence of this committee to understand that we rather trade on fair ground than to be in a haste. We need to take it slowly. 1.4, the last time when the COVID came into place, the government decided to reduce that budget to 1.3 trillion. By God's grace, we were able to get 1.5 total collection. So it is also our hope that if we get anything above 1.4, it will reflect in the collection. But I don't want us to set the target too high, and then at the end of the day, we find it difficult to meet, and we feel somehow that we have not been able to perform. But there are variables, intervening variables, that I want you to take into consideration. And these agreements, when they fully take effect, they are really going to eat much in our own collection because there will be zero duties, and we cannot enforce it beyond that. We must allow these things to come at that level. So, Mr. Chairman, I want you to take this into consideration in taking a decision as to what amount should be. And appeal that we should return to 1.4, and if anything in the course of the year allows us to collect anything more than 1.4, it will be reflected just like it was reflected in 2021. But I don't want us to be too ambitious, only to fall far short of what is expected. I think the morale of the officers will be sustained if we are able to either meet the target or equal this. But if we begin to fall far below because the target is set so high, then there will be a problem. So I appeal that we look at these variables and consider the issue of raising the budget, the target to 1.6. We will return to 1.4, and I assure you that anything collected beyond 1.4 will be reflected just like it is reflected in 2020. There's no doubt about that. But our projection is that some of these variables that are...
sorry, Mr. CG, can you move your mic very close so that...
some of these variables that are mentioned will have substantial effect on the collection of duty. So I want you to consider that, Mr. Chairman. Secondly, the issue of scanners. Mr. Chairman, we are more than anybody eager to have scanners at the port because of very many reasons. First and foremost, it will remove completely the issue of contact to contact. Secondly, it will aid us in fast-tracking the process because where we have to indulge on 100% inspection of a 40-feet container is tedious, is time-consuming. For us, you can scan this within 2 minutes, and it's off. All we need is to get the details and then analyze it. So we are more than anybody eager to have scanners at the port. And that is why steps are being taken Mr. Chairman, I want to take this opportunity to inform you and the honorable members that already Minister of Finance has bought 3 scanners, mobile scanners, based on emergency purchase. This May, by the grace of God, those scanners will land the shores of Nigeria and we will deploy them. Then Central Bank, in its own intervention scheme, has also offered to provide 4 scanners for us. Those will be deployed in the 4 land borders entrances that have now been opened for business. The process is ongoing. The Central Bank is going to do the procurement and then hand over those ones to us. But the ultimate, Mr. Chairman and all members, is that the e-custom that we envisage will come into effect very soon has as part of its component 135 scanners that will be deployed in all our ports. That is sea, air, and land borders. So if we systematically take this, and by God's grace we are able to effect this, then in the next 1 or 2 years, the issue of scanners will be forgone, and our own trade facilitation process will improve. In fact, will pick up. And then we believe that the influx of arms that comes through approved route, and I have repeated this, approved route, will completely be eliminated, because then we have the instrument to be able to detect these things in the containers or in whatever package they are. But the issue of influx of arms in this country does not come through the approved route alone. Some are carried on the back of donkeys through the unapproved route. Some are carried on the back of motorcycles through the approved route. And some of these communities that live in the borders are part of the scheme of moving these things into the country. We have recently lost officers and our vehicles. In fact, for vehicles, I've stopped counting, because every day, every 2 days, I will have a report that our vehicles have been burnt. By who? By hoodlums in conjunction with smugglers. And these are border communities. So when we come and we talk about our interests in the border, what are we doing to also tell our constituencies that they must conform with the laws? They must follow the trend of, in some places, as far as smuggling is concerned, they don't even know that it is wrong, it's against the law. It has happened in Congola when I went on visitation. After talking to the communities, I saw a woman and she greeted me and I asked her, why is your husband? She said he has traveled. I said, what does he do for a living? She said, don't smuggle. You know? What he does is smuggling. So as far as they are concerned, they don't even know what is the difference between smuggle and it's a way of life. And unless we educate these people, and we have the responsibility, not only custom, everybody has the responsibility of educating these people on what is right and what is wrong. And that is the only way we, as custom, will be able to enforce the law and get it executed. But if you go and face people who are ignorant of even the law, the first thing to do is to even educate them. And we do not have the capacity to go on community education. We are doing the best we can. But I believe as a people, we have the holistic responsibility to do that to our communities. The retained funds, and you spoke about what amount in it is for recruitment. Mr. Chairman, in 2020, we budgeted 6.090 billion for recruitment. And in 2021, we have only spent not more than, now that...
Can you come again, sir? Can you come again?
In 2020, we budgeted 6.090 for recruitment. And then in 2021, we budgeted 8.115. In 2020, we did not...
Sorry, in 2020, there is, apart from that 6 billion, there's another one appointment, recruitment, and something like that.
No, what this is, it is.
It is two we add together. It gives us 7.6. Is there?
No, that is for overhead. There's a 1.570 for overhead. That's right.
Then you have recruitment and appointment service-wide.
That's 1.5.
1.570.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you add the two together, it will give you 7.6 billion.
That's right.
That is it.
That is between 2020 and 2021.
And in 2019, yeah, we have the same. We have 3.8 billion for new recruitment and appointment service-wide. We have 1.388. If you add the two, it's 5.2 billion.
No, in 2019, Mr. Chairman, we budgeted that, but we did not spend anything out of it because nothing happened as at then. So when we roll over, we now discover that, and then at the point we were recruiting more junior officers than looking at the cadre. We have 3 cadre, which you know very well. The superintendent cadre, the inspectorate, and then the ICs. So we now discover, after taking the census of the personnel, that we only need officers more in the professional cadre. And that's why we ended up with 800 people in this superintendent cadre. And then we have to adjust between the inspectorate and the ICs. Those are where we need people, which of course, in the course of your discussion, you have raised that issue. We really need personnel at that level. And the total number given to us is 3,200. So we have to now juggle the figure. And by the time we juggle the figure, and of course, you know, we also, in 2019, we got an appraisal of our remuneration. So obviously, if you are making provision for the salary of this recruit, when they finish, it will go higher. It will rise beyond what you budgeted in the early years, 18 and 2019. So that is the reason why the budget went a bit higher than what was previously budgeted. Because if, as of today, if we finish the exercise and they go through their basic course, they will start earning salary, and their salary must be commensurate with other people within the service. So so making the budget, we must factor that, and therefore that increased the figure that you are seeing.
Okay, the new one, which is the 2021, we have 9.6. So that one is still going to be, after you are going to keep the money aside for new recruitment.
No, well, we are not going, because these ones we are recruiting. By the time they go to training college and finish, their salary is going to come from there. So we are not having a new recruitment process exercise, and it's not like this money that was budgeted in 2020 is kept, is found and kept. No. So we roll it over. So by the time we finish the recruitment, it is out of this, if you approve, that they will get their salaries and all other allowances. So, Mr. Chairman, the next, you raised the issue of the scanner in Lagos. Lagos is big, unfortunately. We have Tinkan, we have Papa, and then we have, of course, Seme. As much as I know, the one that was epileptic was the one in Seme. It will work for some days, and then it stops, and then we repair it, and it works again. That can be repaired. But let me say this, Mr. Chairman and all members. Scanners, those of us who are aware of technology, scanners that were bought 20 years ago cannot meet the present technological development. It's not possible, because no matter how much they can repair it, the computerized system now that they install in scanners, that cannot be transformed to be at the great level that is. So even if we repair it, it may not find its way, because these scanners we are buying today, Mr. Chairman, will have a centralized viewing center, which is like as big as this room, with all screen around it. Every scanning done in every pot will be reflected on the screen. So, and the analyzers will pick up that one and store the data. And once an SGD is placed, you pull out the data, and then you do the analysis, and you send it. The person doing the analysis at the center does not know the number of the container or where the container is coming from, so that it removes contract completely from the importers for influence. So, and these scanners that we have today cannot fit into that technology. So no matter, we have considered repairing them, Mr. Chairman, but we discovered that it will be a waste of money, because when we do, they cannot be deployed and configured into the overall system. And so that's why we are working to get new ones, so that we can be updated at the level that everybody is doing his business. Then, Mr. Chairman, the issue of the training of members, I am all for it. You remember the last time this issue was raised, I said we are all for it, because I've discovered truly that not only trading partners, but you members, you need to know what we're doing. You need to have an idea of certain basic things, so that when we put them in the budget and we are reeling down some of these technical terms, you will be in the true position to know what we are saying. So I am behind the training as and CISS, of course, as Honorable Mukhtar mentioned, is controlled under the CBN, and there's a chairman of the committee on CISS, and there's a provision for training of stakeholders under that, and we will work with them to ensure that when they are doing, because as so recently they've called for some of this training. We will from this year advise that they should incorporate our own members from the National Assembly to also be part of this training, so that they can also benefit from this. So we will do our own part, and I'm sure you are also in a position to also chip in with the central bank, so that it can be accommodated within their own training schedule. Then I am very happy with the suggestion that we should work prior to finalizing our budget with the committee, with the technical committee of the custom committee. It will help us in many ways. We'll get advices from you, and we'll also finalize this, so that by the time we come, we're only telling you what you already know, and it makes it easier. So that will be noted, and I assure you that we will follow that advice and work with it. The retaining the 91 billion retained listen. Chairman, honorable members, you know, 2020 is a difficult year. It was a year that not many things had happened. In Nigeria, we had a lockdown of about 3 or so months. Nothing was happening, nothing. So in terms of procurement, everything came to standstill. And therefore, we had a backlog. The BPP had a backlog. Everybody had a backlog. And so when things begin to pick up, there are so many backlogs. And that's why we are not able to get most of our procurement proposals approved. It's not only us. I'm sure it's common to as many agencies as we know, that because of that intervening period, that things came to standstill. There has been backlog, and we have tried to push it. It is our hope that this year there will be no lockdown. And if there's no lockdown, we'll push as much force as possible. I assure you, Mr. Chairman, that we have a very good relationship with BPP. Of course, the DG is somebody I know very closely. So on one-on-one basis, we do discuss issues that are very important to us, and we will send those memos to them. But I know also that they are overstretched because of the backlog. Because it's not only customs; everybody sends his own this in there, and then they have to do due diligence, and it's not something that is done off the cuff. So I appreciate the advice. We will see. We will continue to strengthen our relationship. But what caused this backlog is because of the intervening period of the COVID lockdown. So we will improve on it this year, and hopefully we'll make progress. The duty that as a matter of fact, I don't think, if you know the battle we went through to get the levy reduced to 5%, and up to today, there are people in court who have sued customs and the government for this reduction of levy. So I will crave the indulgence of the members to let us sort out this one first, and let us level it, and then we see an opening where if we can look at the used vehicles. But honestly, to be frank with you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members, I think the more we reduce the influx of used vehicles in our country, the better. The better. Because the used vehicles that come to this country, we are now working on a policy proposal that will reduce the years of the vehicles that will be imported as used vehicles. Most of the vehicles that are imported into this country are rickety vehicles. Are rickety vehicles, which are rejected in the countries of origin. And then they are picked up and brought into anything that can move on the street. For us, it's a vehicle. But that is not the idea. The idea is to have a vehicle that is roadworthy. And to do that, we must put a cap as to the type of used vehicle that should come into this country. We're working on a policy proposal. We're looking at the reduction of the number of years. Mr. Chairman, if all of us visit Lagos, most of the trucks that collapse on the street are rickety trucks. They will move for 200 meters and then they die. That's why you find out at the port there's so much congestion. Because it's not because of anything. Because this thing, you load a container on them and they move for 200 feet, 200 meters, and they die. And then another one will come and die behind it. Another one will die by its side. So they block the whole the road. That is what is happening. That's what is happening. So if we now begin to bring in vehicles that are roadworthy, then yes, for now we are a dumping ground for vehicles. So, Mr. Chairman, we will look at this one, but honestly, I think we should also reduce the number of used vehicles that are imported into this country, so that the idea of reducing the levy of the new vehicle is for us to be able to get new vehicles into this country. That will help in our transportation system. Right now, even transit buses are rickety. You find them, they will take the passengers. By the time they climb the bridge in Mafoluku, they are dead. And then people begin to fight for themselves. So our consideration is that we should have roadworthy vehicles. It is our hope that in the automotive industry will pick up very soon and begin to bring in vehicles that will work. So it's not that we are trying to kill our own homegrown industry. We try to do everything to encourage them. So, but while we are doing that, we will not stagnate anything, and that's the reason why we propose this reduction. But it is our hope that our own industries will begin to produce vehicles that we can afford to buy in this country and use, and then it will reduce the issue of importing used vehicles. In fact, I would love to see a period that we'll stop importing used vehicles completely in this country. So, then the border issue. Our honorable member suggested that if we open the borders for influx or for importation of vehicles, it will reduce the smuggling. I beg to disagree, Mr. Chairman. The issue of smuggling is inherent in some of us. Why we are restricting the importation of vehicles through the ports is because that is where we can properly scrutinize these vehicles. Secondly, even if you open the land borders, I will tell you not 0.0005 of those cars that comes into this country through the borders will all go through the route, the approved route. The reason why they take these cars to Cotonou is to evade duty. It's not because of anything. It's to evade duty. And therefore, because you said they should bring it through the land border, they will not bring it through the land border. They will still follow those unapproved routes. We are working with the Customs Administration in Benin Republic to see how we can ensure the adherence to the ETLS protocol, which is transit goods move the ESCOM. Once we agree with them and they are ready to enforce it, there's no goods that is meant for Nigeria that will land at their port that will find its way out of this. They will escort it and hand it over to our own custom. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what the law says. But it is the failure of this that is causing the smuggling of these things. So if we are able to achieve that, and the idea behind reducing, if you are sincere, if we are all sincere, Mr. Chairman and all members, Apapa, Tinkanala, now we have reduced duty, we have reduced levy to 5%. It's cheaper. You land your vehicle in Apapa or Tinka. You want to take it to wherever in Nigeria. It's easier than you land it in Cotonou. And then you have to take it all the way to Niger and then smuggle it into Nigeria. And you have to pay all the charges when you go through these countries. The French people don't have, they don't show any respite. You must pay everything before you bring it to our own port, our own borders. So why should you go through all that if you are sincere? While we have our port, you land it there, you can pick it any time as quickly as possible and drive it to within your own country. Why do you go through this? So the bottom line is people go through Benin Republic not because they want to pay duty, it's because they want to evade duty. Then the Honorable Chairman, the Honorable Member said, why are we putting the same amount, allocate the same amount for housing development? Mr. Chairman, I must make haste to say Customs is the least agency that is housed today. You know it very well. You go to the borders, you see where they are staying. We have officers managing in senior officers, 3-bedroom flat. A senior officer will have one bedroom per person. Their wives are somewhere. So the question, there are 3 things that we set up for the welfare scheme of the officers so that they will improve their own capacity to perform. That's first, the remuneration. And by God's grace, we are able to get that through. The next one is the training. We must train them and bring them up to date to be able to perform. And the third one is to ensure that they are fully and better accommodated, both office and houses. So we will continue to put money for the building of accommodation and purchase of buildings because we do not have enough. As of today, I don't think we have half of our officers fully and comfortably accommodated in the accommodations they should have, and that is meant for them. So for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to put money in order to improve on the accommodation, both offices and residential accommodation. It's necessary to complete our cycle of welfare of our officers. So that will continue. Then last but not the least, the honourable member also talked about the collapse of security. Let me honestly say this, Mr. Chairman, honourable members. The issue of security is not does not fall on the shoulders of one agency. The issue of security in Nigeria is everybody's business. I ask this question, Mr. Chairman, where there's incessant adoption of children in the far north, in a broad daylight, 100, 200 people will climb a machine, ride those machines, pass through villages, pass through towns, and go to where they target, and pick these children in broad daylight, and ride back through this route. And nothing happens until the children are fully secured in the bush before you hear the news. What is the responsibility of citizens? Must it be a policeman that will stop these people? Everybody has a business in ensuring security. Everybody. We don't pass information. In Katsina, for instance, Mr. Chairman, the smugglers went and connived with bandits and dropped our men from all custom posts. The governor said it, that you have connived with bandits to drive customs. Now they are now hunting us. The governor said it on the air. And this is what is happening on the ground. So who are those? Have we spoken to our people? If we have not spoken to our people, there's no matter what number of security men are put, Mr. Chairman, if we don't work with the citizens to curb the situation, it will continue. If we accommodate these people in our own homes, in our own villages, and allow them to operate, then it will continue. So we need all hands on deck. We are ready to do everything, Mr. Chairman, as customs the responsibility to ensure that we block the arms coming into this country. But I want to assure you that we will not alone be able to stop arms, all total smuggling of arms into this country. We need the support of each and every one of us, and I hope honorable members will work with their own constituencies to assist us. We are ready to work with them to make sure that we reduce to the barest minimum. If you observe, of recent, we normally do not use to publicize the prosecution of smugglers, but we were being accused of not prosecuting smugglers. So we have decided now to be on the air to show how many smugglers are being prosecuted. And we will continue to showcase that one. We have many of them that are facing prosecution, but we cannot do that alone. We must get the support of the citizenry to be able to effectively do that. Because these smugglers are within our own communities. Some of them are even paying, giving paycheck to people. We know that. So if we don't fight them together, we will not be able to stop this thing. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Now, I will allow Honorable Mukhtar to talk about the figure. When he talks about the figure, then I will give my ruling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. CG, though the chairman had given us that we should make this meeting as short as possible, but some of the issues you raised are really not going to help us. It's not going to help the committee, neither is it going to help Nigeria. What we are saying, CG, is you agree with me, any increase of collection would translate to increase of revenue for the service, because we collect 7%, isn't it? So I would want you to look at it from that spirit, because if you say we should return the 1.4, there are a lot of arithmetic that I have done just sitting here to disagree with you. Number one, the chairman did mention, and of course I'm a member of the finance committee, the issue of the excise duty on carbonated drinks that has been lifted. If you calculate that alone, sir? No, it will come to you. We'll make sure. We'll make sure that it's transmitted to you, Mr. CG, by the grace of God. Remember, we are still in 2020 budget. It will end tomorrow. We will get it. We'll work. No. We'll make sure that you get it as soon as possible. Latest by next month. We'll get it as soon as possible. So this is one, because if you do that, and we have agreed as members of the technical committee to insist that we work with customs, we work with Central Bank of Nigeria, and we work with your technical partners, because you see, when we went around, the main thing we observed is the issue of excise is still manual. You know, officers collect these monies, or they direct these manufacturers to go to the bank and pay. And you know what it means? You know what it means? There will be a lot of compromises, because as a custom officer, if you come and give me 50 cartons of the drink, I will compromise, because I know I have something to retire with. 50 cartons every month. So let's try and automate that process, because by the time you do that, Mr. CG, the difference we are looking at between 1.4 billion and 1.6 billion is just 214 billion. Just 214 billion. If you do the exercise right, this is enough. You can get even up to 3 billion or more. Then when you look at the the African Free Trade Agreement thing, up to now, the rules of, what do you call it? Rules of origin. The agreement has not been agreed upon. Yes, sir, we have started, but they have not even agreed on them. And if you look at what you have collected from January to March so far, the trend from the figure that I have looked, taking out VAT, we're already going towards 1.6 trillion. Yes, sir, but you know that traditionally, the year starts slowly. Then when we get to the middle of the year, before the end of the year, trade activities will go. And with the COVID going away, CG, so I would like to crave your insistence that this committee is still retaining that 1.6 trillion. And by the time we do supplementary budget, we'll increase it to 2.5 trillion by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
Even if you get to the plenary, this 1.4 cannot pass. And the reason is very simple. I'll show you. You collected 1.562 trillion. And then we are now going to stand. I'm going to present it on the floor. And I will stand and say, okay, custom has been given 1.4 trillion. They will not approve it. So the best thing is to keep that last year figure, which the increment, as you have said, is just 214 billion, which I know you will even surpass. So that one, we can still land on it and have easy and smooth passage. But if you go below the 1.562 trillion, it will not pass. It will not go through. Yeah, 679. I've already discussed this before coming here with those people that have the authority to pass this budget. So that is why I'm telling you, initially they are thinking higher. I said, no, this figure, let's maintain that last year figure. If and only if you pass it, then next year we'll be talking of the 2.5 is talking about, not this year. So this is what I will say. If it is agreed, then we end this meeting. Is that the wish of the committee that we should leave the target of the custom at 1.679 trillion for 2021 budget? Is that the wish of the committee? Yes. Those people will say aye. Aye. The aye have it.
No, in practice and in theory, it's almost different. When it comes to 6 o'clock in the evening, most of the posts that are manning the border outpost and the main borders, they went to sleep. And they leave, excuse me, they close for the day, and they leave it to smugglers and the bandits. That is why there is cross infiltration in this country. So most of the borders, if you go to Sokoto, if you go to Katsina, if you go to Jigawa, if you go to all the borders of this country, this is the naked truth. And as a matter of fact, we need to have a holistic approach to that, Mr. Chairman, because we are hoping to make this Nigeria peaceful and responsive. And maybe it's because of their morale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, my name is Ibrahim Mohamed Bukar, member representing Konduga Dikwa Mafa. I'm from Borno State, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would speak on 4 issues, but very briefly. And I want Mr. CG to respond to my suggestions or to my questions. One, Mr. CG, you said you are trying to encourage Nigerians or car importers to bring their cars through the port, which is a very good move. But there are 1 or 2 things that is happening in Nigerian ports. Once you brought a car into Nigerian port, you pay your custom duty, your car is being cleared out. Immediately you come out, even within Apapa, you will find some custom officers. They will stop you along the way. They will say, okay, this is underpayment. And you still have to pay them 200, 300,000 before they release your car for you to move on. If you come down to Abuja, they will say, okay, this is underpayment. So what is the problem? Who is underpaying who? It's the same officers that release this car. And the same officers are saying that this is underpayment. And the same officer will collect kickbacks and allow this car to work. This is a very wrong move. People, car dealers wanted to import their car through the port. But this is actually what they happening. All these officers in uniform, they know what is happening. They have been there once. They just become officers here. They were there at the port. They know what is going on. So I think the issue, if a person borrows a car through the Nigerian port, I think there is no way or no reason why any other custom officer will say you are paying underpayment. That is not good. Two, issue of underage vehicles. I personally went to Germany last year, January. I bought about 10 cars. These 10 cars I want to give out to my constituencies. I bought this car, the highest amount I bought is 300 euro. But when I come to the port, they say I have to pay 450,000 for clearing. And you said the tariff is only 35%. How do you compute? Car I bought about 160,000 naira, I should end up paying 360,000 for duty. How do you compute that? The tariff one will answer this question. And the issue, the third issue is about the cars that are roaming the Nigerian state, the cars that are without duty. Well, your organization is a money-making organization or a revenue-generating organization. There are people who wanted to pay their own custom duty, but there is no way they will pay because they said the portal is closed. I'm appealing to you or to your organization to open this portal, allow Nigerians to pay their duty. That way you gain a lot of revenue generation into it. These cars used to find their way into Nigeria, no matter how much you say, how close the border. No matter these cars still find their way into Nigeria. So I think if your car finds its way into Nigeria, there's nothing you can do about it. This car has to fly Nigerian roads. So the only thing to do is allow this car to pay their own duty. So let them roam about freely. If you say a car that finds its way into Nigeria, thank you. So this is an important issue I'm talking about. It's very important. No, I've never finished. Four. Third one. Okay, let me go to the fourth one. The issue of rickety vehicles. When you talk about rickety vehicles, imported vehicles are rickety vehicles, I will disagree with you in this point. Most of these vehicles you are talking about, they are rickety, the ones that are used to spoil on the road, they are almost about 30 years old. They got spoiled around the road because of tear and wear, not those cars that are being imported. If you say you stop underage vehicles into coming to Nigeria, that means you are depriving Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, from buying vehicles. Because no ordinary Nigerian can buy brand new vehicle. It's very expensive. So what you should do is, please allow these cars to come, let them pay the appropriate duties, and let everybody use his own car. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think the questions are straightforward, and I'm going to answer them as we go along. First and foremost, on the issue of vehicles being accosted, so I must enlighten that we have three layers of making sure that our laws are enforced. We have at the port the area controllers and their team. We have the FOU, Federal Operation Unit, and also we have the strike force. And because of the discretion and sometimes the indiscretion of our officers, where compromises may be made between the importers and our officers, we have to put other layers to check these things. And that is why you sometimes find out, let me say this, that there are cloned custom documents going about. Agents will connive with our officers when you pay as an importer, you give him the correct duty, he will calculate the correct amount of the duty you are supposed to pay with all charges. He gives you, and you give him the money. He will go and connive with a custom officer and reduce this thing. And then they clone the paper, and you take the vehicle out. For the FOU chap, as far as he's concerned, that paper he presented did not meet the requisite requirement. That happens sometimes to innocent importers. There are also importers who connive directly with the agents and reduce the duty. And then expect that paper, when it's out, that is done. It's not like Bible and Quran, no. It's subject to checking. And if we discover that the value of the car that you are riding is not commensurate with the duty you pay, then you question. And let me also say, the issue of saying you buy a car for 180,000 naira or also euro. Cost duty of car is not only the value of the car you bought the car. There's cost of the vehicle, there's insurance, there's freight. All these are calculated to what you pay as duty. So sometimes we need to ask questions before we begin to fight the system. If they give you an amount, ask the customs officer, what is the composition of this amount? What are the subheads that makes up this total? He will explain to you. It's not only because you bought a car for 130 euro, and therefore you will come and just look at the cost of the car and then, no. There's insurance, there's freight. All those are calculated and added to the value based on the cost. So you pay. That's what the law says. So it's not that so let us ask questions. I'm sure our officers will be able to explain some of these things. And that's why the issue of underpayment do arise. Because if you compromise, or your agent compromise, in most cases agents, now we have taken the steps in custom to prosecute agents, because we have discovered that agents are cheating importers. We will give them, they know the correct charges. They will calculate everything and give it to you, and you give them the money. They will go and take that money, and then if you say your car is 2018 or 2019, they will go and reduce that car to 2009, and then say it's accidental. And they know that the value will drop, and they will pay that. And when you bring that car out, and FOU officer sees you with that car, and you present that document, he looks at the car, it does not meet that description. And therefore you are liable to pay another money. So this is what is happening. This is what is happening. And we are doing the best we can, but always ask the question. And that's why we're trying to automate the system. By e-custom, you can sit in your house. You want to import Mercedes 250E. You will see the freight, you will see what is the insurance on it, what is the freight on it. You calculate your duty. You can pay online without talking to anybody. Then you can ask an agent to go and collect it for you. It makes it easier. We are trying to automate the system. And once that is automated, this discretion will remove completely. And therefore, agents will not, but today, agents are one of our biggest problems. Because they give you a different thing, and they go and do a different thing. And they give you, when they collect the paper, you don't even know which one is genuine, which one is not genuine. As far as you are concerned, you have a genuine custom paper. But by the time the officer looks at it and says it's not genuine, the quarrel will start. How come? Is it not from custom that it comes? It might not be from custom. It might not be from custom. So these are some of the things. But we are available for questions. And I want to grab the indulgence of members. If there's an incident that happened where you see that an officer or there's a likelihood of connivance or corrupt activity, Please draw our attention. Draw our attention.
Your attention or the attention of the officers?
And of course, the one I say our attention, custom.
Well, it's the same question. It's the same custom. That I've been listening. How will you go and report a custom officer to a custom officer?
Why can't you report a custom officer to a custom officer?
How will you report a custom officer to a custom officer?
So who do you report him to? Are you saying we don't have integrity, all of us?
How can I report a custom officer to a custom officer?
So who do you report it to?
Well, maybe to you to some
Okay. Yes, I think the issue of rickety vehicles, I still stand on my submission. We buy vehicles of 15-year-old and we bring it into this country. A vehicle that has been used, if it is fully used for 15 years, obviously is not a vehicle that you will say is roadworthy. So we are saying any vehicle from because the custom has a 7-year period, any vehicle that is beyond 7 years should not be imported into this country. That's it. Because in the actual sense, the others are rickety. I've lived in the US. Most of them use their cars for 3, 4, 5 years, and they discard it. They discard it. Once a car gets to 7, 8, 10 years, it's off road. But we go and pick it and bring it here, and then believe that it's a new car. And so once we have a limit, it's better for us, so that we have a roadworthy cars. And then, of course, the issue of bribe. I think when you bring out your car, when you connive or your agent connive and bring the bribe and give bribe, we have another line to check this thing. So people should bear with us that we have 3 layers, and each of these layers is to ensure that the proper thing is done. That's the only way we can, because we have found that, with due respect to Nigerians, that most of us are not willing to go by the laws. Anytime we can cut corners, we take that opportunity, and then when the law enforcement catches up with you, you begin to ask questions as to why should he do that. But it's true. It's true. If you decide to cut corners, then you are vulnerable. You are vulnerable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you.
Answer one question.
Which one?
The question of paying custom duty.
What?
Smoking cars.
The car already in the country, whether to open the window.
Okay. No, Mr. Chairman, let me say this. Sorry, it escaped me. You see, if you now, why do you, in the first place, smuggle that vehicle? Why do you bring it on custom? And now you're asking to regularize it. It is one of the two. Either you now discover you are in a position as a person that you'll be embarrassed to be caught with a smuggled vehicle. Then you will now come before customs and say you want to regularize it. Once we begin to accept smuggled vehicle to be regularized, then there will be no end to smuggled vehicles in Nigeria, because they will continue to come. It's only when you now see that there's a chance of you being arrested, then you now come and say, please, I want to regularize it. But for the period that nobody touches you, you don't care. So no allowance. Why we refuse to do that is not to give any allowance for anybody to bring in this thing and then begin to ask for regulation. We don't. Once we allow it, then we have made the smuggler official. Then we will now sit on the streets of Abuja and begin to stop people and say, pay duty, pay duty. Then we leave the border.
I want to suggest to custom, this issue of disparity of duty of underpayment, you have to do something about it. And then you have to develop an app. All these vehicles, there's age limits, agreed. 7 years old, more than 7 years old must not come into the country. Yes. So from that age, in that app, duty to be paid on each vehicle should be there, so that anybody who is buying the vehicle already know what is going to pay. It's not that they will go and give it to agent will now reduce duty, and then they come out. Then another thing I want to say is about the FOU. That's why we need this, your SEMA, to come, this Custom and Excise Management Act, for us to amend it quickly, because you are operating, it's like you are operating without law now. We need it to come so that we can amend it. FOU stand at the gate of the port, and I don't think that is what the SEMA says. They are within the perimeter of the port. If they want to operate, it should be on the, maybe like 100, 200 kilometers away from that port. But immediately after the gates of the port, they are there, position their vehicles. It's not the way it is. Some of them, they have genuine papers, but FOU still want to get something because they are not inside the port. So this is what we need to discourage, and that is why you need to develop this app on time, so that whoever pays correctly, even without going to port, he knows he has paid correctly. Nobody can ask him for anything. So it can raise alarm. But if you don't even know what exactly is the duty you're supposed to pay, somebody bought a car and now came to my office, want to check whether this vehicle is genuine. There's no way to check. I had to send it to controller PTML to help me check the system, whether this vehicle actually passed through him. It was after we got the information that the vehicle actually passed through him, he showed me, he sent everything, all the duty was paid, the amount that was paid, when it was the officer that released, and now said the person should pay. So we need a system whereby we can even check on our own without even referring to the port. So this is the advice I want to give. And based on this, I think we have come to the end of this budget. Somebody to raise, to move.
Having scrutinized the budget of custom and having discussed extensively about it and exhausted our discussion for today, I, Honorable Timei Adilegbe, representing our several constituency, do hereby move a motion for adjournment of this meeting. Thank you.
Seconded by who?
Thank you, Chair. I, Honorable Taufik Abimbola Ajilesoro, hereby second the motion as heavily moved by my leader. I so second.
Motion and seconded by Honorable Timei and Honorable Taufik. It is now concluded that we have come to the end of this budget hearing. And on this note, at committee level, we have approved the budget of Nigerian Custom, 1.679 trillion for 2021.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Driving the rain.
It depends on the velocity of the rain.